Scott Naismith. I'm a landscape painter, and I actually do a lot of demos online, so I'll maybe put this up online. Don't worry, none of you I think are the purpose of the videos is really just to give a bit of an insight into how the thing's put together, really for first and foremost customers who can buy the painting and then actually see or refer to a video of it being painted the whole time. It kind of works well that way. But also just to get a bit of recognition on a sort of worldwide scale, which actually works quite well. But anyway, a little story about me, my artist statement. I have a bugbear about artist statements, and that is that they are complete waffle. And it's just nonsense speak. That there's a website out there, if you want to generate your own artist statement, you just go to artybollocks.com and you hit a button and it comes up with all sorts of nonsense words that, you know, somebody's overused a thesaurus and doesn't really have the qualifications to know how to use these words. So my artist statement is down to earth, but trying to look into more intellectually what I'm doing without going a little bit over the top. So after 10 years, I'm just reading the artist statement of my new book. Okay, after 10 years of painting the Scottish landscape, probably more closer to 12 soon, my recent work now becomes more involved with cloud cover and its effect on light and colour through both its translucent and opaque properties. Clouds are visible masses of water droplets or frozen ice crystals suspended in the atmosphere, thanks to Wikipedia. They have the ability to refract and reflect, creating an ever-changing perception of light which inspires my use of colour. I'm constantly referring to the paradox of a cloud's perceived weight and its fragility, and the relationship between the cool and the warm colours created by it. I have become increasingly interested in catching the moment when heavy weather shifts to reveal clear blue sky, and that blue being a cool colour that complements the warmth that it brings, kind of ironically. While the most obvious manifestation of light refraction at this time would occur in the form of a rainbow, I will be concerned with the accentuating the infinite more subtle effects of light refraction. I find myself increasingly inspired by the work of Turner. Everyone familiar with the work of Turner? Other influences include Glasgow Boys, Francis Cadell, this kind of thing. Guthrie, Lavery, Henry. Did anyone go to the Glasgow Boys exhibition? One of the best exhibitions I've been to in Glasgow in a long time. So when I'm painting, you might see some of these influences, and you might, when I'm sort of talking as a paint, you might have know where the hell I'm coming from when I'm talking about. Because I will probably talk waffle when I'm painting. I can't do two things at once. Working on. I've just got a very small little study of what I'm doing. This is going to be Elgol. Anyone been to Elgol? Black Cuillins from Elgol, craggy, sort of distinctive headland. The method in which I paint this is going to be that it will evolve rather than be drawn at the start. You'll notice there's a small guideline as to where it's going to go that's been actually changed. When you take a photo of any headland like that, you end up with this very small, very silly little small thing, and when you're actually there, the headland can appear much more kind of dramatic. So what I tend to do is try to, if I have to work from a photographic reference for that headland, I'll try and sort of exaggerate things a little bit. It kind of helps with the height of the thing from the... Well, what I like to do is have a... When painting a landscape, I like to think of it as a very wide-angle lens, so that you're imagining the clouds as they pass over your head, and everything's very wide angle, but I don't like the fact that it reduces the detail on the headland if it's then very minuscule in the composition. So this is the idea, and with the refraction of light and the light source, my recent work is concentrating on looking straight into that light source. So I'll be referring a lot to my medium, which I keep in a small bottle. Wee brushes, but I don't need wee brushes. Wee brushes come at the end, and I won't get to the end of the bit. My last demo I did, I started on a blank white canvas. This time we're starting on a ground, but this is a ground that's dried twice. So I've put the brick red, or the transparent red oxide, or red oxide, on first, and then there's a cool colour to cool that colour down in certain areas. And I'm already thinking about where I want to have the cloud cover, and I want it sweeping behind the headline. So actually the sky here really isn't going to be an awful lot more in the colour reference than just this yellow-purple contrasts and yellow-purple complementary colours. But I will need it for reference as to where the thing actually goes. I'm going to bring this headland down. If you've ever been to Elgol, they do a lot of rock climbing up this cliff, so it's a very sheer drop. But even though this is in darkness and under cloud, the tone will always be darker just in front of you, but also it might pick up a little bit of warm light from the light source. I like, at the moment, Block X paints. The Old Hollands recently followed me on Twitter, and I'm hoping that they'll want to give me some free paint if I mention them in the next video. Now, with the paints I'm using, I recommend getting your hands on some artist's oils. You'll notice that these ones aren't, and that's purely because I'm a skinflint. No, it's because you don't need them if you're using high quantity of paint. You won't really need high sort of concentration of pigment necessarily. You're looking for texture and everything else. Watercolour is going to be a bit different because you don't paint in big, you don't slap on the paint so much in watercolour. It goes on in thin layers comparatively. But the method that I do to make the colours more vivid is that what I'm going to do later on is do a glazing layer on this painting, and it's going to brighten up some of the colours. This is actually a painting that I did last week at a demo, and I've worked on it since, and I promised, who was that? Who said to me earlier on they were at this Glasgow South Art Club? Yeah, Glasgow South. So I was working on this painting and I worked from it from the stage at which I needed to do some glazing. But then the glazing went on, and then I worked in pastel until over the top, and then I'm going back to the glazing layer. So there's actually, dried layers of oil paint, maybe 5 or 6 by the time you're finished. And you'll probably be asking, well, wouldn't that take about 5-6 years to dry it? And, well, no, because I'm using a quick drying medium, which I don't know what's exactly in it, but I think it's probably linseed oil and damar varnish. Probably you can mix your own, mix a bit of damar varnish into the linseed oil, and it makes your liquid paint dry a little faster. I also have something really handy for pastel, and that's an pastel medium. It's a gel that dilutes your paint without thinning it, if you know what I mean. So it will increase the quantity of the paint, which isn't necessarily needed if you're using cheap brand paint, because you can slap it on and not worry about how much you use. But it makes the paint dry a whole lot faster. So if you're going to, what my technique is glazing over the top of impasto paint, and you could never do the glazing layer until like 9 months later if you didn't use some paint additives like I did. It shouldn't really, it makes the paint slightly more kind of glossy. Both these mediums do. Okay, let's get started. Stop.